The Galactic Institute of Unified Studies hung in orbit like a polished jewel, an angular structure of silver struts and shimmering energy panes wrapped around a rotating habitat ring. From a distance, it projected an image of order and prestige. Up close, it radiated something sharper, the expectation that everyone inside already belonged. Everyone except the human girl stepping off docking gate 7. Mira Kade adjusted the strap of her data pack and paused as the sensory haze softened, thousands of overlapping voices, translators hum-clicking in rapid cycles, a mixture of pheromones drifting from species she hadn't even studied yet. Her heartbeat stayed steady, a skill honed through years of training back on Earth. In a place where humans were considered unpredictable predators, showing nerves would only feed the stereotype. A pair of tall, plume-crested students stopped mid-stride when they noticed her. Their eye stalks pivoted. One whispered too loudly, "Deathworlder." The other shivered, drawing its feathers tight. Mira pretended not to hear. She kept her steps even, her expression composed. She'd expected this. Humans came from a world where weather could kill unprepared travelers, where wildlife stalked forests with silent efficiency, where bacteria reinvented themselves weekly. To the average galactic citizen, Earth wasn't a home, it was an anomaly. Her mother's final message echoed in her mind: they fear what they don't understand. Don't give them a reason. The Institute's central hall opened into a cathedral-sized atrium filled with floating holograms of extinct cultures and interactive data spirals. Students moved in precise patterns, some gliding, some bounding, some swimming through anti-gravity channels. Mira scanned her orientation map and turned down the path toward the xenobiology wing. That was when the first shadow fell across her. "You're the new creature from Earth." The voice was cool, clipped, and practiced, the tone of someone who assumed the room belonged to them. Mira faced the speaker. Vorkel towered above her, his Vorthian armor skin gleaming beneath the bright lights. His markings were carefully maintained, each stripe designed to highlight noble lineage. His 3 companions flanked him, forming a semicircle that seemed casual to anyone not paying attention. Mira paid attention. "Yes," she said simply. Vorkel's lips curved, but the gesture held no warmth. "I assumed Deathworlders would be taller." "I assumed nobles would be polite," she replied. Rilex, the thin insectoid on Vorkel's left, clicked its mandibles in amusement. Bromok, the reptilian brute on the right, gave a low rumbling laugh. Only Syrah, the telepath, remained silent, her lavender eyes fixed on Mira's face with dangerous curiosity. Vorkel circled her slowly. "You walk calmly. Too calmly. Is that a threat display, or are you trained to act civilized?" "It's just walking," Mira said. He leaned closer. "Well, do try not to hunt anyone. The Institute frowns on incidents." She didn't respond. Anything she said would be twisted into mockery. Instead, Mira stepped past them and continued toward her class. She heard their quiet laughter trail behind her. "Keep moving. Don't react." The xenobiology classroom was a sphere filled with floating desks arranged in vertical layers. Mira took one near the edge, grateful for the distance it provided. The instructor, a long-bodied Kauran with a translucent thorax, began the lecture with practiced enthusiasm. Mira listened carefully, answering when called. A few students seemed surprised that she spoke with measured precision rather than snarling or snapping, as the rumors implied. By midday, she almost believed the morning confrontation would remain a one-time encounter, until she opened her lunch container. The food inside was tampered with. A smear of synth spice strong enough to blister non-Vorthian throats coated her meal. Mira breathed through her nose, snapped the container closed, and set it aside without a word. From across the cafeteria, Vorkel smiled. Later, during a lab exercise, her equipment flickered into an error state. Someone had subtly miscalibrated the interface coils. Again, no reaction. She simply recalibrated manually, finishing the assignment early. But the third attempt came in the form of Syrah. Mira felt it before she heard the footsteps, an intrusive emotional pressure, like a hand pushing between the ribs. Sarah brushed past her and murmured softly, "Your mind is loud, human. So loud. Storms, teeth, fire. Does it always feel like that in there?" Mira's jaw tightened. Telepaths were forbidden from probing without consent, but bullies rarely cared about rules. "Get out of my head." "Oh," Sarah whispered, withdrawing abruptly, expression shaken. "Your walls, they're not walls. More like cliffs." Mira walked away without acknowledging the comment. But the incident confirmed her suspicion, they were escalating. The halls dimmed for evening cycle, bathing the institute in soft blues and violets. The student crowds thinned. Mira made her way toward the quiet residential wing allocated to scholarship students. Her posture remained open, unthreatening, hands loose by her sides. Humans had learned long ago that stillness calmed alien observers. Then she heard it, footsteps falling into rhythm behind her. Not subtle. Not hurried. Intentional. She didn't turn. She didn't break stride. But her senses sharpened, the way every human from Earth instinctively responded to being followed. The corridor ahead narrowed into a maintenance passage temporarily rerouted due to construction. Most students avoided it because the navigation lights had been removed. Mira didn't mind darkness. Darkness was predictable. She stepped inside. The footsteps behind her quickened. When she reached the midpoint of the corridor, the overhead strip flickered. That single stutter of light was enough to tell her she was no longer alone. Vorkel's voice echoed lightly, almost amused. "There you are, little predator. We were wondering when you'd stop hiding." Mira turned slowly, keeping her breathing controlled. Bromok blocked the exit behind them, thick arms crossed. Rilex's clawed fingers tapped eagerly against its own forearms. Sarah lingered near the back, expression unreadable. Vorkel moved closer. "This path has no cameras. No witnesses. Just us. I thought it would be educational." "For you," Mira corrected, her voice low but steady. He tilted his head. "Confident, aren't we?" "Not confident," she said. "Prepared." She shifted her stance only slightly, barely enough to count as movement, but the station noticed. A soft tone hummed above them. The corridor lights changed from cool white to a faint, unmistakable yellow. Vorkel froze mid-step. His companions stiffened. Even Sarah's pupils contracted. Bromok hissed, "Why is the system flagging?" Mira didn't move. She didn't need to. The Institute's sensors were sophisticated, designed to detect not just overt violence but also microtension signatures associated with lethal instinct. And humans, especially those trained to remain calm under stress, registered as an anomaly. Vorkel tried to laugh, but it came out thin. "Must be a malfunction." Mira held his gaze. "It's not malfunctioning." The yellow light deepened almost imperceptibly, as if the station itself were leaning in to listen. She lifted her chin slightly. "You followed me. You cornered me. Now the station is asking one question." Vorkel swallowed. "And that is?" Mira stepped forward a single pace, smooth, silent, controlled. The lights brightened to a sharper shade of warning. "What happens," she said softly, "when you corner something from a Deathworld?" And for the first time since she'd arrived at the Institute, Vorkel didn't have a reply. The yellow glow sharpened into a warning band that washed across the narrow corridor. It wasn't loud, no sirens, no frantic alarms, just a silent shift of color that told anyone with sense that the environment had begun watching. Vorkel didn't take a step back, but his posture changed. His crest lowered in a subtle defensive reflex, and his companions exchanged whispers too faint for Mira to catch. Even Bromok, whose confidence usually bordered on reckless, shifted one thick foot as if preparing to either charge or retreat. Mira didn't speak at first. Silence unsettled them more effectively than any retort. She kept her breathing measured, posture neutral. Years of Earth training had drilled this response into her nerves. When danger escalates, the mind slows down, not speeds up. Vorkel forced a laugh. It's just a sensor glitch. Don't flatter yourself. Relax glanced up at the glowing strip. Glitches don't climb levels. Something triggered it. Mira tilted her head. You cornered a human in a blind corridor. The system is reacting accordingly. Bromok snorted. We're not afraid of colors. No, she said. You're afraid of what they represent. Sarah finally stepped forward. Her voice, usually distant, held an edge of confusion. There's pressure radiating from her. Not aggression. Something different. Vorkel gave her a sharp look. Don't be dramatic. She's a first-year student. That's not what I'm sensing, Sarah murmured. Mira could feel the telepath's attention pressing lightly against her thoughts again, hesitant this time. She didn't block it, she didn't need to. Humans didn't project emotions the way most species did. They were far harder to read, and when calm, nearly impossible. Vorkel tried another tactic. You think standing still makes you intimidating? Standing still keeps me from escalating the situation, Mira replied. By doing nothing, he mocked. By not responding the way you expected. The tone of her voice carried no threat, only clarity. Somehow that unnerved them more. Vorkel's smile thinned. Enough games. He gestured toward Bromok, who lumbered forward with a shove meant to be a warning rather than a strike. Mira barely shifted under the impact. Her boots slid half an inch, nothing more. She inhaled once, slow, even. And the lights flared into orange. The corridor tightened its lockdown sequence. Vent filters snapped closed. A mechanical thud echoed down the hall as hidden barriers sealed the far ends. Rilex's antennae flattened instantly. That wasn't her. I mean, she didn't. The system doesn't react to actions, Mira said quietly. It reacts to potential outcomes. Vorkel's jaw twitched. And what potential is that supposed to imply? That you've pushed too far. Bromok tried to regain his bravado. You're trapped with us, human. Or you're trapped with me. Mira didn't raise her voice. She didn't shift her weight. She simply held their eyes with a calmness no non-human could fully decipher. Sarah pressed a trembling hand to her temple. Vorkel, her mind just went cold. What does that mean? He demanded. It means she stopped feeling anything. No fear. No anger. Just focus. Mira didn't deny it. The shift was natural, almost comforting. Humans evolved to lower stress responses during danger, conserving energy for whatever came next. Most species surged with panic, humans sharpened. That difference was enough to confuse every alien sensor ever built. Vorkel attempted another smile, but it cracked around the edges. You're bluffing. Before Mira could answer, the station made the decision for her. The orange light deepened abruptly, bleeding into a pulsing crimson. A faint tremor ran through the floor plates. Emergency doors clamped shut with heavy magnetic locks. The corridor was now in red-level threat mode, something most students only knew from distant training vids. Rilek stumbled back, mandibles clacking in alarm. Red? For her? That's impossible. Sarah's eyes widened. Red means lethal possibility. Vorkel swallowed hard. Lethal from us, not her. No, Sarah whispered. The system marks origins. And every panel glowed from Mira's position outward. For the first time, silence didn't come from tension, it came from realization. Mira kept her hands at her sides. I've done nothing. The system interprets my reaction as defensive. Defensive? Vorkel snapped. You haven't even moved. Exactly. Her breathing slowed even more. The hallway scanners mirrored her pulse on a subtle readout strip, the numbers dropped instead of climbing. Sarah saw it and stepped back a full meter. Vorkel, whatever she's doing, it's controlled. I'm not doing anything, Mira said. That's the point. Vorkel's confidence crumbled. He tried to force the situation back under his command. This is a malfunction. It has to be. Override it, Bromok urged. Vorkel slapped the wall panel. Security override, Vorkel son of Darkel, code. A neutral voice responded through the corridor speakers. Access denied. Threat level, maximum. Containment required. The bullies exchanged looks that no longer held bravado, only growing fear. Mira exhaled softly. You should have left me alone in the atrium. The system wouldn't have reacted there. Vorkel glared at her. You're trying to make us think you're dangerous. No, she said. The station already thinks that. I'm trying not to prove it right. Rilex's claws jittered against its own arms. She's not even armed. Humans don't need weapons, Syrah whispered. Their biology is a weapon. Mira's eyes flicked toward her. That's a misunderstanding. We adapted to survive our environment, not conquer others. Survive by what means? Syrah asked, voice shaking. By staying calm when everything else panics. Vorkel took a shaky step back. For the first time, he seemed to recognize the cage he had created. You're lying, he said. Look at the lights, Mira answered. Red pulsed again, slow, steady, like the heartbeat of something ancient observing from overhead. The AI wasn't fooled by posturing. It cared about probabilities, not ego. Bromok slammed a fist against the sealed hatch. There has to be a way out. There is, Mira said quietly. Every head snapped toward her. Lower the threat. Vorkel frowned. How? Stop acting like predators. Her words landed harder than any blow. Even Syrah winced. Vorkel stepped closer, but only halfway before freezing, afraid to trigger another escalation. And if we don't? Then we wait, Mira said. The system will release us once it decides I'm safe. And how long will that take? Rilex asked. That depends on you. Syrah gazed at Mira as though seeing her for the first time. Tell me something. When the lights changed, what were you thinking? Mira considered the question. I was thinking about how to leave without hurting anyone. Not how to win. Bromok asked. No. That's the difference between humans and what you imagine us to be. The corridor hummed overhead. The red hue softened by a shade. The bullies noticed instantly. Vorkel's voice cracked. It's responding. Keep talking. Mira didn't change her posture. I'm not here to frighten you. I came to study like anyone else. Rilex's antennae lifted. Then why does it feel like you're holding something back? Because I am. A deeper quiet settled around them, one that didn't come from fear, but understanding. The lights flickered. Red shifted toward a muted orange. Syrah breathed out shakily. It's lowering. Vorkel's hands curled into fists, not from anger this time, but from humiliation. This wasn't supposed to happen. That's your real problem, Mira said. You expected me to behave like a monster. And you aren't? Bromok asked. No, she said firmly. But monsters aren't always the ones you expect. The corridor lights continued fading, the system recalibrating based on Mira's steady vitals. Orange diluted into yellow. They were close. Mira took one deliberate step back, lowering her center of gravity. The yellow softened to pale gold. The locks on the doors released with a solid clunk. And for the first time, all four bullies understood exactly what they'd awakened. The magnetic locks disengaged with a muted thud, but none of the bullies moved. The corridor's amber glow settled into a cautious neutrality, hovering between safety and warning. The air felt denser, as though the station itself waited to see which direction the next moment would lean. Mira didn't step forward. She didn't take advantage of the opening. Instead, she shifted her weight just enough to signal that she held no intention of advancing. That restraint unsettled them more than the red lights had. Vorkel's throat worked once before he found his voice. You could have finished this when the lights went red. I didn't want to. Mira kept her tone even, neither cold nor warm. Fear doesn't solve problems. It creates more. Rilex's claws clicked nervously. Then why didn't you leave earlier? The path opened. Because you weren't ready, she said. If I walked away while you were still panicking, the system could have locked us in again. Sarah swallowed, still scanning Mira's expression with quiet awe. You were waiting for us to calm down. That's how humans avoid escalation. Bromok frowned deeply. But your reaction, your calm, it's unnatural. It's practiced, Mira corrected. There's a difference. Sarah nodded slowly. She means it. I'm not sensing hostility. Only discipline. Vorkel's pride bristled. You think staying still makes you superior? No. Mira's gaze held his without challenge. I think staying in control prevents disaster. For a moment, no one spoke. The corridor hummed with the soft vibration of recycled air. The pale gold lighting reflected off Vorkel's armor skin, highlighting the tension knotting his posture. He broke first. You humiliated us. You cornered me, she replied. The system responded based on risk. It didn't punish you because it dislikes you. It detected outcomes you didn't consider. Rilex's mandibles shifted thoughtfully. Outcomes involving her. Outcomes involving all of us, Mira clarified. Humans don't lash out unless pushed. But when we're pushed far enough, we don't panic. And that confuses your sensors. Bromok took a step back, as if reevaluating the distance between them. You're saying you weren't angry? I wasn't anything, Mira said. I was measuring the situation. Vorkel scoffed, but the sound lacked force. You expect us to believe you stayed calm because you were analyzing? Yes. Mira gestured faintly toward the floor sensors. Why do you think the lights changed so fast? Humans slow their heart rate in danger. Your system misread that. Sarah's breath caught. So the red wasn't you becoming aggressive. It was the system misinterpreting your stillness. Exactly. A heavy silence followed. This time, the quiet carried comprehension rather than fear. Vorkel looked away, jaw clenched. Then why didn't you simply explain that earlier? Would you have listened? Mira asked gently. He didn't answer. Mira took another measured breath and finally stepped sideways, clearing the path completely. The corridor lights faded to soft white. The station exhaled, if machines could be said to do so. You can go, she said. Rilex wasted no time, skittering toward the exit with rapid, relieved steps. Bromok followed, still watching Mira warily but no longer with bravado. Sarah lingered, her expression thoughtful. Vorkel remained rooted. You're not afraid of us, he said quietly. No, Mira replied. But I was worried for you. He let out a strained laugh. That's almost insulting. It's not meant to be. She shifted her stance slightly, palms open. You didn't understand what you were provoking. Most humans wouldn't have reacted as I did. Some might have panicked. Panic makes everything worse. Vorkel's crest twitched. So you're saying humanity is dangerous? Every species is dangerous in the right circumstances, she said. Humans simply react differently to threat. That's why you must treat us with respect. Not fear, respect. Sarah stepped closer to Vorkel. We pushed her into a containment event. If the system hadn't interpreted her correctly. Vorkel closed his eyes briefly, absorbing the truth. Mira continued, voice gentle but steady. I didn't want trouble. I came here to learn. Not to be a symbol. Not to intimidate anyone. I just wanted the same chance every other student gets. He looked at her then, really looked, as though seeing the person rather than the label. You didn't retaliate, he said. Not even once. No, she said. That was the point. The tension finally broke. Vorkel exhaled slowly, shoulders lowering in reluctant acceptance. I misjudged you. Most people here will, she replied. Earth's reputation precedes us. And yet you're nothing like the stories. I hope not. He hesitated before stepping aside, clearing the space between them. This won't happen again. Mira nodded once. Good. Vorkel made a small gesture toward the exit. Walk with us. If anyone sees you alone right now, they'll assume you caused the lockdown intentionally. I didn't, Mira said. I know, he replied. But rumors don't care about truth. It wasn't an apology, not fully, but it was the closest his arrogance allowed. Mira accepted it with a quiet nod and followed at a respectful distance, not wanting to crowd them. As they stepped into the wider hallways, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations paused as students noticed the group emerging from a corridor known for being under lockdown minutes earlier. Whispered speculation rippled through the crowd. Rilex leaned toward Bromok. If they think she caused it on purpose, they'll stay away. Syrah shook her head. No. They'll be curious. Fearful curiosity spreads faster than fear alone. Vorkel glanced at Mira. Be prepared for questions. I'm used to questions, she said. Humans get a lot of them. He didn't challenge that. The group reached a junction where their paths diverged. Rilex and Bromok left first, muttering among themselves. Syrah lingered once more. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? Mira asked. For not being what we expected. Mira nodded. Syrah left with a soft, contemplative expression. Vorkel waited until the others were gone. You could have embarrassed us in front of everyone. You didn't. That matters. I don't want enemies, Mira said. That's all. He gave a slow, respectful tilt of his head, a gesture from his culture rarely offered to non-Vorthians. Then maybe we don't have to be. Mira didn't answer immediately. The day had been long, and the consequences were only beginning. But she saw something new in Vorkel's eyes. Not fear, not hostility, awareness. A fresh start, he said, extending an open hand. Mira considered it, then shook it once. Firm, steady, equal. Vorkel stepped back. Until next class, Mira Kade. She watched him leave, the corridor lights reflecting off his armor skin as he disappeared around the corner. For the first time since she'd arrived, the Institute felt less foreign. Mira turned toward the residential wing, walking with the same calm stride she'd used since morning, but now, no one avoided her. They simply made space. Not out of fear. Out of understanding. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the station, she sensed the system had already adjusted its parameters for her presence, recognizing not a threat, but a new constant. A human constant. One that would not be cornered again. When Mira woke the next morning, the Institute felt different, not in its architecture or its ambient lights, but in the quiet shift of attention that greeted her the moment she stepped into the hall. Conversations hushed for half a breath, then resumed. Students didn't stare openly, instead, glances flicked toward her with a mix of curiosity and calculation. She expected rumors. She didn't expect the shift in posture, subtle, cautious respect rather than fear. The hallway sanitation drone drifted closer than usual, scanning her vitals with routine chirps. It lingered half a second longer and logged the data without any warning tone. That alone told her the system had fully recalibrated. Human vitals were now understood. She exhaled, relieved. One less thing to worry about. At breakfast, someone left an extra nutrient pack on her tray slot. No note. No signature. She didn't touch it. Instead, she sat at the far edge of the cafeteria as she always did. 10 minutes later, Syrah approached with a hesitant smile. Is this seat open? Mira nodded. If you want it. Syrah lowered herself carefully, watching Mira's expression for any sign of discomfort. The Institute is buzzing. Everyone wants to know what really happened in that corridor. Let them guess, Mira said. Truth gets twisted anyway. Maybe, Syrah replied softly, but you should tell your version. Rumors are painting you as some quiet storm waiting to erupt. Mira stabbed her fork gently into a synth fruit wedge. I didn't erupt. I know. That's the part they don't understand. Sarah glanced around before leaning closer. Vorkel is trying to control the story. He doesn't want to look reckless. He shouldn't have cornered me, Mira said. That's why he's nervous. He knows you're not pushing the narrative. He is. Mira considered that. Vorkel taking control of anything involving her felt strange. But if his pride drove him to shape the story, she couldn't stop him. Before she could respond, the cafeteria screens flickered. A message scrolled across the top. Mandatory Assembly, Xenobiology Wing, First Year Cohort. Sarah winced. Here we go. Mira's stomach tightened. Assemblies meant eyes. Eyes meant speculation. But she couldn't skip. The auditorium filled quickly. Rows of first-year students settled into the tiered seating beneath a domed ceiling that projected calming gradients meant to reduce anxiety during examinations. It wasn't working today. Chancellor Eriks, a tall figure of flowing metallic cloth, stood at the center podium. He radiated authority without raising his voice. Before we begin, he said, I want to address an incident that occurred yesterday in Corridor Segment 9A. A ripple moved through the auditorium. Mira kept her gaze down. We experienced a red-level threat response. While this caused understandable concern, Eriks continued, our investigation confirms no malice, no violence, and no physical harm took place. A wave of confusion crossed the room. Eriks's eyes, dark orbs set into a shimmering face, swept toward Mira. The system reacted to an unfamiliar physiological pattern. That has now been corrected. Mira went motionless. She hadn't expected him to single her out. Nor did she expect what came next. And therefore, Eriks said, we will not assign blame. Instead, we view this as a learning opportunity about species differences. The auditorium buzzed louder. Sarah whispered, he's shifting focus off you. Eriks raised a hand. However, first students are suspended from extracurricular privileges for one cycle. They violated Institute protocols regarding harassment and cornering behavior. Vorkel stiffened in the opposite row. Rilex clicked its mandibles in irritation. Bromaka's tail slapped the ground once. Sarah didn't move, she had already expected this. Eriks continued, to ensure future interspecies misunderstandings are avoided, I have selected one student to serve as liaison for physiological risk awareness. His gaze returned to Mira. Mira Kade has demonstrated exceptional restraint under pressure. She will hold this role. A silence fell so deep it bordered on disbelief. Mira looked up sharply. Chancellor, I didn't request. You didn't need to, Eriks said. Your conduct showed you are capable of handling conflict without escalating it. That makes you ideal. Vorkel's jaw tightened, not in anger, but in reluctant respect. Eriks's tone softened. Humans are new to this institution's ecosystem. Every new species requires integration. You have shown what that looks like. The screens shifted to display a short list of duties, attend xenobiology panels, present findings on Earth physiology, assist with cross-species etiquette discussions. Mira's shoulders relaxed a fraction. This wasn't a punishment. It wasn't praise either. It was responsibility. Eriks dismissed the assembly, but as students filtered out, whispers followed Mira in a very different tone than before. Did you see how she stood still? She didn't fight, she prevented the system from misreading her. She's not dangerous. She's controlled. She's strategic. Those murmurs mattered more than any official ruling. Sarah walked with Mira into the hall. Congratulations. I didn't do anything heroic, Mira said. You didn't have to. Sarah stopped her gently. You proved something bigger, humans aren't walking disasters. Mira managed a faint smile. That's a low bar. For many? It's a revelation. Footsteps approached. Vorkel. He paused before Mira with an awkward stiffness she had never seen on him. I spoke with the Chancellor, he said. I told him you didn't provoke anything. Mira blinked. Why? Because it's true. His crest lowered in a gesture she recognized as apology. I misjudged you. Badly. You misjudged humans, she corrected. Both, he admitted. But I'm trying to fix at least one. She crossed her arms lightly. What do you want, Vorkel? A truce, he said. And a chance to learn. You stayed calm when most species would have panicked. I want to understand how. Mira studied his face. No mockery. No hidden threat. Just curiosity wrapped in pride he refused to shed completely. You can ask, she said. But don't expect simple answers. Vorkel nodded. I don't want simple answers. Sira smirked. He never does. Vorkel shot her a glare. Sira. Mira cut in gently. You're all welcome to learn. But no more tests. He held up both hands. Agreed. Rilex and Bromok lingered behind him, watching Mira with a mix of caution and respect. They said nothing, but their posture spoke enough. The hierarchy of the group had shifted, and they recognized the change. As they parted ways, Mira felt something profound settle into place. Not pride. Not triumph. Just belonging, not the loud, celebrated kind, but the quiet version earned through understanding rather than force. Later, in her dorm, the room's interface flickered to life, chiming with a notification. New role activated, human liaison. Mira touched the panel lightly. Not bad for her second day. She sat at her desk, letting the weight of the new position settle across her shoulders. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't unwanted. It felt right. Earth sent her here to prove humans were more than their reputation. She intended to do exactly that. But she also knew one truth the Institute had learned faster than expected. Humans weren't feared because they were violent. They were feared because they chose not to be. Mira smiled faintly. Tomorrow, she would teach the galaxy why that distinction mattered.